30 regeneration vials, 10 fire mollies, 5 burn salves, 20 smoke bombs. You tap your finger against the glass of the second shelf. It's getting a bit cloudy now that you're actually looking properly. You'll have to wipe it clean soon. 1, 5, 7, 11 bottles of snake oil, 15 bottles of disinfectant, 40 lozenges, a couple boxes of bandage, and such that you're much too lazy to count, and finally, 20 tins of white flower balm. Luckily for you, there's still enough stock for 4 more days until another batch is in order, but you're running out of salt faster than expected. Which of course means you'll have to spend the rest of the morning grinding herbs again. You groan and scribble down a reminder in your journal. Harvest herbs, make the salve, bottle them, and label. Wait, when was Paulo gonna pick up his tonic again? The front door chimes open, followed by the soft click of it closing shut. You scoff. Good heavens, did people not know how to read? You're sure you flipped the sign over more than 10 minutes ago. Though you suppose it is your own fault for not having locked the damn thing. You ignore it. If it was so important that they come in after closing time, then they can very well figure out on their own how exactly to get your attention. You have work to do. You flip through the last pages of your journal. The thing's at least a few months old now. The edges of the binding are frayed, and the paper is littered with stains and creases from your trips out to gather herbs in the forest. You drag your finger underneath the lines, hoping it will help you decipher your words. Monday? Nah, that was Pablo's pickup for the poison, not Paulo's. A page flip later, and you find what you were looking for. There, in your absent-minded scrawl. Saturday, midday. You really should improve your writing.
You?
There's voice acting in this? You still. No, he should not be here. Why is he here? Your finger curls, scratching and tearing the paper underneath it. Even from here, you can hear his breath, hear the will of the world flow through his every inhale and exhale. You crave to place your hand over his chest, to feel his lungs expand and strain against its hollow cage. To curl your fingers underneath his skin and tear flesh asunder until all that's left is his damned soul, destined for a world so much greater than this, yet still here all the same. But you've lost that right long ago. His breath was never yours, never even his to begin with. His heart is turned away, beating in time with another. His soul is his, and his alone. You force yourself to relax, finger uncurling and leaving a broken trail in its wake. You raise your head.
What are you doing here?
He's staring at you, disdain clear in the quiver of his eyes. There's something else there too, something that you can't quite place. Not right now. Pain clouds whatever is left of your judgment. Even now, anger is an easy escape. It opens its doors for you at every turn. The familiar steel of pettiness slips into your hand like a honed blade. It hums in search of blood. What am I doing here? Charity work? I'm gonna make a save just in case. What am I doing here?
What am I doing here? What are you doing here? This is my shop. Matter of fact, it's closed if you haven't noticed.
I didn't think that the main character will be voiced as well. Jesus, man, I'm just gonna be chilling here for most of the visual novel. God damn.
Your what?
He asks, taken aback. Slowly, he scans the room around you. Realization dawns on him in a cold rush. Satisfaction slithers up your spine. It isn't a win, but it's good enough.
I see you've lost the ability to read as well. My name's on the sign out front. Or were you too busy staring at your reflection to notice?
Oh, god damn me!
Well, you could have decorated better. You sure you're alright staying in a place like this?
Rude! Incredibly rude. That was completely unnecessary. To your horror, he devolves into a fit of shoulder-rattling coughs. Blood splatters on his lip and collar. He winces, fingers tensing at his side. Your eyes flicker to the movement, retort dying on your tongue. You don't know how you didn't notice it before, but there's blood there. Lots of it. He grimaces at your attention, but doesn't bother to hide the injury.
Did they send you here, errand boy?
You grit out, slowly making your way to where he is. After all, this is your damn shot, and you cannot let some stupid scribe die on your watch. He laughs bitterly, but doesn't deign you with a response. You look up at him. He's staring at your hand, eyes hazy and face cast in shadow.
I'll take that as a no, then.
You curl your fingers around his hand and gently pry it away from his body. His palms are covered in blood. The cloth of his blouse is torn, and where it isn't, it sticks to his torso from sweat.
What did this?
You murmur, hand hovering over the wound. Some of the blood has dried, but it's bright red and angry, and your breath hitches in your throat. Black tendrils spread out from the gash. You can't see how far they've gone underneath his clothes, but you look up at him again. Salvi stares back at you, his breathing shallow.
You idiot.
You hiss.
You should have told me sooner.
Forgive me.
He snorts.
I was rather preoccupied.
You shake your head, and before you can think twice, point to the doorway leading to your living room.
Sit down on the couch. I'll be with you in a moment.
He purses his lips. You ready yourself for a retort. They'll have you dragging him by the ear. But nothing comes. His eyes are tender in a way that you're too tired to name. It unnerves you far more than it ought to. He shakes his head, as if to discard the thought and give you a brief nod.
That couch better not be moldy.
You roll your
Whoa.
eyes.
Before I have second thoughts.
Also, I'm just gonna say this right now, like the audio, like the ambient music is way too loud for the voice acting. Like I'm going to need to actually like adjust some of it. Give me a goddamn moment. By the time you finish closing up, Salvi is already sprawled out on your couch, sweating up a storm. At some point, he's taken off his top and shoved it underneath himself. The bleeding has mostly stopped, but the cloth thankfully catches most of its stragglers.
What the hell happened to you?
His eyes are closed, and his brows are drawn in sharp discomfort. If his breathing didn't forcibly even itself out upon your entry, you would have mistaken him for being asleep. You roll up your sleeves and kneel at his side. Now that he's shirtless, you can better see the damage. It's exactly as you expected. The gash is bright red, with spots of black where the poison first spread. He's tried his best to keep his breathing even, but now that he's attempting to speak it comes out strained.
Manonangal attacked me.
He breathes
I
out.
was trying to get past the damn swamp by nightfall, but
Shut up.
He eyes you, indignant. Still, he remains blessedly silent. His breathing evens out once more. You nod in
Reserve
approval.
your energy. You can tell me more about how you royally fucked up later.
You take out a vial from your hip and stare at the bright green liquid inside. Should you tell him? This'll hurt. You flick your attention back to him. He's staring at the vial, but his gaze is far off. You should recognize it, but nothing. You're not sure if he's just tired, or if it's the poison getting to him. Either way, you don't have time to waste.
Shit.
His brows draw together, in confusion.
This will hurt.
You pop the bottle open, and pour the contents straight into his injury. He screams. It starts as a grunt and morphs into something guttural and animalistic. It takes everything in you to keep pouring. His left hand grasps desperately at the back of the sofa. The right finds its way to your shoulder and digs into your flesh. The last drop falls into his open wound, and you turn your focus to prying his hand off of you before he injures you as well. It takes longer than expected, but soon enough he's clutching at your wrist instead, body writhing like a dying roach. After a minute, the wound begins to bubble, black blobs of liquid rising from the gaping hole and sliding down his torso. It takes 5 minutes before the screaming finally stops. Salvi's eyes are closed. His entire body is covered in sweat, chest heaving and arms still shaking from the residual pain. You make a way to stand up and fetch him a cloth, but you realize he's still clutching on to you for dear life. Take his hand off. I'll stay with him. He needs you right now, more than he'll ever care to admit. You sigh and sit back down. Gently, you pry his trembling hand from your wrist so you can hold it in both of yours. It is rough and calloused, so much more damage than when you last left him. What happened to him? What happened to them? If Salvi was here, Dante shouldn't be far off, and if Dante wasn't here. After a moment, he stops trembling. A few minutes later, his breathing evens out. He places his hand against his chest. He does not wake up. You stand up slowly, careful not to jostle him as you pad your way over to the sink. You mutter a quick incantation that gets the water flowing, and soon enough, your basin is filled. You heft it by your hip and grab a clean rag and some soap on the way back. You drop by his side and begin cleaning him off. His skin is pliant underneath your hand, and it comes to you then that this is the first time you've ever seen him out of his stupid little outfits. He's always been easy on the eyes, though you'd rather die than ever say that to his face. It's not the first time you've understood why Dante kept him by his side for so long, and you know it won't be your last. By the time you finish wiping him off, taking care not to linger too long, the basin is stained dark red with a mixture of his blood and the Manananggal's poison. At first, you thought you were just imagining it, but further inspection proved you would be right. His marks are gone, both of them. And if the lack of a large self-sacrificing imbecile barreling through your door tells you anything, it wasn't entirely consensual. You lean back and sigh, the weight of the past hour's events finally sinking in. You press your palms against your eyes, your own hand stained red from his blood.
Shit.
You wake up to early morning light and fur against your skin. Sleep is still nestled deep in your bones, but you blink it away and wipe the crust from your eyes, trying not to wince as last night's events come back in full force. Gentle hands against your skin, tender touches that betray years spent together. You try not to think too hard about it. The wound is still too fresh. You prop your elbows up behind you to try to sit up, only to be met with a searing hot pain in your side. You hiss, nearly biting down on your tongue.
Idiot.
You look up to see a lion staring down at you. Unimpressed, they roll their eyes and push you back down with a light shove. It hurts at first, but laying down is infinitely better than what you were trying to do.
Don't move.
They
I
sigh.
can't believe I have to tell you this. Did traveling with Dante teach you nothing?
Let's see. Wait. Shut up? You huff. Heavens, they make it so easy.
Shut up!
You bite back. All goodwill from last night shoved to the back of your mind. They don't even have the decency to try and look offended. You don't know how they can do it so easily. Gods, you feel so small. You stare off to the side, bitterness rising up to your throat.
Why are you here?
Can't a man waste away in peace?
They snort. Not if it's you. I'll haunt you to your grave. Tell me, why are you here? Shouldn't you be by their side, writing whatever the hell it is you do about their adventures?
Told you to shut up!
Silence. You keep your eyes averted, hoping that they take it as a sign to leave. They don't. The next time they speak, there is barely contained anger bubbling underneath the surface.
They left you, didn't they?
For all your supposed education, you truly do not know how to take a fucking hint.
They left you to fend for yourself, and now you're here on my fucking couch, injured with goddamn necrotic poison.
Your hackles raise.
I deserve it!
You croak. Throat sore from last
I
night's
fucking
scream.
deserve it, so could you do us both a favor and shut up?
No.
I know I'm a nuisance. You don't have to rub it in.
A sob erupts from your throat.
Just... I'll be out of your hair soon enough. Please.
Even more silence. Despite everything, you know they are still there, hovering. Like a goddamn specter of everything you lack.
Is that what they told you?
You don't answer. You feel so damn tired. They are silent again, contemplating their next words. Good. The bastard could do a bit more thinking before they speak.
What?
You
You're
murmur.
going to tell me I'm wrong?
They exhale.
I'll talk to you again later. Go rest for now.
Somehow it hurts more than if they just said nothing. You ladle the porridge into a bowl, careful not to spill any. You're going to have to eat the same food for a few days until Salvi's body fully recuperates. Thankfully, you quite like the taste of porridge. Thank you. You look behind you at the couch. His hand peeks out from the back, tapping idly to some imaginary beat. You realize after a moment what beat it is. Gloved hands, gilded mask, the swell of music reverberating in your ear. Salvi leans in, mask off and laughter caught between his teeth. He's half bathed in shadow, the moonlight on the balcony, casting him in an ethereal glow. From here you can smell his cologne. You can practically taste the sweetness of his skin.
Even better than you, I'd wager.
Now,
He laughs.
let's not get ahead of ourselves.
For a brief moment, you forget how often he makes you want to stitch his mouth shut.
Well, I'm certainly ahead of you.
Behind you, someone chuckles. You cannot see them from your position, but you know they are there, watching.
Shit. I
they-
did horribly.
Okay, could you let me finish reading before you go on? They huff out a breath, and it is followed by the clink of glass on marble.
Don't be too hard on yourself, Dante. You did quite well tonight.
They stepped on my toes 3 times. I'll have to put salve on them in the morning.
He toots.
But they didn't step on the Countess, did they? They were exquisite on the dance floor, if I do say so myself. Not much of a loss.
You roll your eyes, but concede. He was right, after all. As long as the esteemed Askel, guardian of the sun, sun saint, chosen of the Almighty, charmed all the right rich bastards, then the night was in their favor. Just thinking of their titles already makes you want to blanch. You know that this is needed, that getting supporters will help in your quest. Salvi has explained it far too many times, and you do actually listen, thank you. Still, you just wish you didn't have to see so many people either too like their next meal. Exotic, those Castilla had murmured, and it took everything in you to not hex them on the spot. Salvi runs his thumb in soothing circles along your hip, always perceptive to your anger simmering just below the surface.
I hope I'm not interrupting anything.
Footsteps approach from behind, and soon enough, a pair of hands join Salvi's at your hips. You lean back into the solid weight of Dante's chest and preen as they press a kiss behind your ear. You suppose it is a comfort to know that at the end of the day, they both return to you. Do I get both? Do I have both Dante and Salvi? Oh, it's one of those stories. Nice. They are yours, as much as you are theirs, whatever that entails.
You're so beautiful.
They murmur.
Both of you.
Just loud enough for Salvi to hear it, too. The both of you. So, wait, so, in other words, Salvi, oh my god, it's a thruple. You revel in the way Salvi's hands tense against you. His throat bobs, the red flush of his ears peeking from underneath his hair. You half expect him to leave, to admit that this was far too much for him to handle. He doesn't. You watch with bated breath as you expose your neck, as Dante kisses a trail along your collar. You wait for him to look away. He doesn't. Someone's jealous! It's best not to linger on the memory too long. You were young and stupid and all too daring for your own good. No matter how much you want to, it's not as if you can return to what you had. So was I spit roasted?
Food's ready.
Okay. I was just talking about spit roasting, but okay. His hand still.
Porridge?
His hand still before quickly resuming its tapping. You make your way over to his side and deposit the bowls on the coffee table. His eyes are sunken and his skin is still pale from the blood loss. Then again, it's hard to tell when someone's skin is sickly gray, even when healthy. You press your hand against his forehead to check his fever and thankfully find that it's mostly receded by now.
Taking advantage of my illness to touch me, witch.
He grins, but it is pained and weak. The adrenaline high of yesterday has faded, leaving him a pathetic mess on your couch.
It's enough to make a grown man blush. That is, if I had any more blood to spare. Unfortunately, I'm rather injured at the moment.
I mean, hey, if you wanted me to take real good care of you, all you had to do was ask. I mean, I can get your blood rushing. You roll your eyes and pick up his bowl. Even in the state, he still can't find it in himself to shut up. You scoop up a spoonful of porridge and blow to cool it off.
Does it have the little chicken bits in it?
You stared at him.
No, those are mine. You're still sick. Best you're getting is a few scallions and some ginger.
You stare at him over the spoon, unimpressed. He purses his lips and thankfully doesn't raise any complaints. For someone who spent over a decade traveling the continent, he sure is a picky guy. Once the porridge is sufficiently cooled down, you lower the spoon to his lips. He gobbles it up greedily, entirely too happy to not have to feed himself. You snort. Are you ready to talk about it? What do you do to you? Are you ready to talk about it? You scoop up another spoonful of rice. He continues to chew on the porridge you fed him. After a moment, he swallows.
So what?
Salvi looks up to you, the very essence of innocence. It irritates you more than you'd like to admit. What you do to wipe that look off his face?
I'm not good at this.
You sigh, dropping the spoon back into the bowl.
I see we've acquired some self-awareness in the past 3 months.
You roll your eyes and pick the spoon back up to begin blowing at it. After a while, his grin falls off, attention elsewhere. His hand was stilled, no longer tapping that familiar beat. It's odd to see him like this. You press the spoon to his lips and watch as he opens his mouth and swallows it.
Are you ready to talk about it?
You ask softly, the same way one would speak to a spooked horse. He chews, his gaze still far off until finally, he looks at you.
May as well rip the band-aid off, correct?
He chuckles, the discomfort clear on his features. For all he speaks of love and heartache, it truly is an art to try and coax from him matters of the heart. It's not something you're particularly good at, despite your years spent together. Most of the time, the three of you just shoved it in a jar and hoped the lid was tight enough to keep it shut. You start to blow and another spoon.
Take your time. I'll be here.
He glances at you, a soft and genuine smile on his lips. You don't feel as if you deserve it.
Thank you, darling.
He mutters.
For what?
For being here.
You're the one who crawled into my shop looking like a newborn babe. Thank fate, not me.
You look at him incredulously. He laughs, eyes crinkling at the sides.
Still,
He mutters.
you didn't have to bother taking me in and cleaning me, feeding me even. You could have just given me the potion and been done with it. Thank you.
Sal.
You start, choosing your next words carefully. You're my friend. You're welcome. You're welcome. I don't know which is better. Like, saying you're my friend kind of... I don't want to shut him off entirely. Like, I want him to be with us. Like, goddamn. But then again, I want to know more about what's going on here. Like, what happened between that time and now. You're welcome, but I feel like you're welcome might not be the right choice here. You're welcome.
You're welcome.
You smile, hoping that it's enough to tell him. It's no bother, really. You press the spoon against his mouth, gently nudging his lips apart.
Eat up. You'll have to drink water and some tonics after this.
Do I really have to?
He crinkles his nose.
Unless you want to live a rotting corpse, yes.
You're right. I'm too pretty to die.
He sighs as if carrying the weight of the world.
That's not what I said.
Are you sure?
He sniffles.
Sounded like it to me.
You're absolutely awful, Sal! You wait until he's halfway done with the bowl before finally popping the question.
What did they do to you?
Salvi stills, staring at the spoon halfway to his mouth. You place it back into the bowl. He sends you a dirty look, but there's no real bite behind it.
Can't you let a man finish eating first?
He huffs.
Besides, how are you so sure it's them I'm so bent over about?
Because their opinion is the only one you ever seem to care for.
Oh my god. Okay, whatever happened between the both of us must have been messy. His expression morphs to one of genuine contempt. Brows drawn and lips pursed. He opens his mouth as if to say something, but decides against it. He looks disappointed somehow.
Well, it's not.
Then what happened?
He remains suspiciously quiet.
Salvi?
Okay, fucking hell, fine. Because of that moronic oversized twit. You happy now?
He throws his hands into the air. You blink slowly, taking his outburst in stride.
And what exactly is it that Dante did this time?
Hey.
Salvi chokes on air, which quickly devolves into heaving coughs. You rub his shoulders as he lets it all out before offering him a glass of water. Halfway down, you see that he's begun to cry. The poor sod. You take the cup from him and deposit it on the table. It takes a while for him to regain his bearings, yet the tears remain.
They've had enough of me, apparently.
He chuckles sardonically.
Ever since you left, they've been so high-strung. I know it's not your fault. I understand your choice, and I don't blame you for it.
You nod slowly, opting not to comment.
But gods, after all my years with them, I know not to expect much, but it's too much. Gods, it's too much.
You raise your hand and place it against his cheek. He leans in, letting you wipe away his tears with your thumb.
It can't be you. I cannot replace the hole you've left in their heart, and they know this. We both know this. I stopped practicing magic for them. Do you know how pathetic that makes me feel? You stood up against the council, left before they could influence you further, no matter what we thought. And yet, here I am. 5 years without magic, on the verge of being snuffed out of existence for an imbecile who doesn't even want me back.
Oh, that was smart.
A person who can't even look me in the eye as they tell me to fuck off because I've outlived my usefulness.
He laughs again, almost hysterical.
This war is over, Salvi.
He mocks.
There are no more tales to tell. Go, you are no longer needed here. As if I hadn't willingly walked into this over a decade ago when they summoned me. As if I didn't choose to stay.
Yikes. Your face contorts into one of displeasure. Unfortunately, you're still not surprised. This is entirely in character.
And what am I supposed to say to that?
He laughs.
Okay, Dante. Thank you for having me in your service for 15 fucking years. It's been a good run. Adios.
His hand clenches and unclenches like he's itching for a fight.
They took my hand for the first time in what felt like ages. The next thing I know, I was back in that damned forest all those years ago. It is so much harder to break our contracts than it is to create them, and they just... without even telling me.
You tuck his hair behind his ear and watch intently as his breathing begins to even out.
I never even told them I loved them.
He closes his eyes and lays back even further into the pillows. You're not sure if he realizes it, but he's begun to nuzzle the back of your hand. They're an idiot. You purse your lips, righteous anger simmering in the back of your mind.
They're an idiot.
You say.
Always has been.
Salvi chuckles. He always did give them the benefit of the doubt, far more than they deserved.
I'm right, you know.
I do.
15 years together, and this is what they do to you?
You scoff.
They don't deserve you.
He stills, cracking both eyes open to look at you. There's an aching smile on his lips that reaches in between your ribs and pulls. It makes you want to do things that you shouldn't do, if only to make him feel better, even for just a moment.
If they don't deserve me, who does?
Your tongue weighs heavy in your mouth. He's challenging you. You know this. When you don't rise to meet him, you're not sure who's more disappointed. Two days later, you're feeling significantly better than you were before. Lion is nowhere to be seen, probably either gathering herbs again or making potions and salves at the front desk. So you're not exactly sure why they'd still be doing it so late. It's already past sundown. And you, well, you spent the last 2 days in a delirious state of sleep, only waking up whenever your mind decided to give you a respite from your dreams. You dreamed of them again, the two of them. You wish you could stay, but there was no point lingering on the past. Lest you end up like the rest of your kind, so blinded by it that they ignore the cruelties of their inaction. And to be honest, you're kind of hungry. They already graduated you to solid food, so they wouldn't fault you for a little snack, right? You prop your elbows up behind you, and this time, you can finally stand without issue. Your legs are unsteady, already used to 3 days of lying down and only standing for the infrequent bathroom break. You were only half lying the other day when you said Lion was a terrible healer. You press your hand against the bandages, wrapped tenderly around your torso. They definitely gotten better at it, that's for sure. You smile softly, grazing your fingers against the places they touched.
What are you doing?
You got caught. You laugh, turning around with your hands raised.
Nothing. Nothing for you to worry or be suspicious about.
You know that doesn't make you any less suspicious, right?
Whatever could you mean?
You chuckle. They sigh and roll their eyes fondly. You wait for them to say something, but they are rather busy staring at the couch.
Well, if you excuse me, I'm off to get a snack.
Do you want to sleep with me?
Wait, what? Hey, whoa, what do you mean? Whoa, wait, what do I mean? Well, I know what I mean, but what do I mean? Wait, of course?
Of course. I would love to.
You grin, teeth and all.
Though I never thought you'd proposition me. Do you treat all your patients like this?
Only the cute ones. Which, considering my tastes, quite a number of them.
What? You know that's not what I meant.
Ah, no! They sputter, indignation clear as day.
Truly? I was quite looking forward to knowing what all the hubbub was about.
You pout. They sigh and begin massaging their temples. Ah, your beloved Lion. Still so bad with words. They grumble something under their breath that you don't even bother to try to hear. It's not going to be flattering for you anyway.
You know what? Forget it.
What? No, my darling. Forgive me.
You pout and reach out to give them a hug in apology. Only for your legs to give out from under you. Oh no! I've fallen for you and I can't get up. They catch you before you hit the ground, arms wrapped around your fragile form with what would be a surprising amount of strength. If you didn't have the pleasure of already knowing them.
This is why I told you to stay in the chair, Salvi.
I can't help it. I mean, I'm just way too cute. You smile impishly and clutch onto them, giving into the excuse of close proximity.
Does the offer still stand?
Only if you stop being so obnoxious about it.
No promises.
Of course.
Oh my god, I love the banter. I really love the banter between the two. Oh, you lean over their prone form, attempting to grab onto your journal without waking them up. Really, it was kind of your fault for leaving it there in the first place, but who were you to know that they wouldn't even wait until after dinner to begin coupling? You suppose it would be distasteful if you wrote in an account of the Guardian's sexual misadventures into his biography, never mind that he's your best friend. You pointedly avoid looking at both of them as you stretch your arms even further. Just a bit more.
Salvi?
Well, damn. You chance to look down, only to see that they're both awake and looking right at you. You chuckle awkwardly and pull away, trying your damnedest to get out of this situation immediately. But there's a large, calloused hand circling your wrist and... Ah!
You're heavy, Salvi. Scoot over.
You grunt as you're bodily dragged and slotted in between the two. Gods, how did you end up here?
You're thinking too loud.
You turn your head to Lion. They looked amused, eyes slitted, no doubt from your rude awakening.
Should I report you to the council for mind reading now?
Oh my god, you sniffle petulantly. They roll their eyes and scooch over to sling an arm around your waist. At your other side, Dante does the same, their hands joining over your stomach.
Go to sleep, Salvi.
They murmur softly. Lion's head is at your shoulder, and Dante has taken to burying their face in your neck and... Oh. God, you shouldn't get used to this. Should you? It was doomed to fail from the start. Yeah, thruples are messy. You're broken out of your reverie by Lion entering. You're in their bedroom, hands in your lap as you sit on their bed, feeling far too much like a bride waiting for her groom. When you chance to look at Lion, they are dressed in a nightgown that exposes much of their neck and collarbone, and, well then. You exhale, averting your gaze from their body. It's not the first time you understood why Dante wanted them, loved them instead of you. You've resolved yourself to not look at them the whole night when a lump of cloth hits you in the head. You sputter and grab at it. To your surprise, there's another nightgown, tailored to your size and brand new. You look up at them. Apparently you two are of the same mind because they are resolutely looking away as well.
Get dressed. I had your clothes repaired and they should be ready in the morning.
I can't just undress in front of you.
You say indignant.
Has 3 months turned you into a blushing maiden? I already took off your pants when I first bathed you, Salvi. Besides, I've seen you fleeing butt naked from enough angered spouses to last me a lifetime.
God damn it, Salvi!
But if you truly wish for privacy, then I can make myself scarce.
No. Stay.
No,
You murmur.
no, it's fine. You can stay.
Their breath hitches. Didn't expect that response then.
All right, I'll look away then.
What happened to, I've seen you naked enough times to last me a lifetime?
Those were accidents.
And bathing me?
Medical emergency.
Always so practical.
They huff and keep their back turned towards you. A valiant show of restraint, if you're honest. If it were you, you would have at least twitched by now. You look at the cloth in your lap and run your fingers over the soft material. Cotton, just like you prefer. You lift it over your head and shimmy it over your body, careful not to undo any work Lion did to your torso. You smile, It's a good fit that's just big enough to please you immensely. You adjust how it settles over your legs for a few moments before slipping your pants off. It's only now, 3 days later, that you realize these aren't actually your pants. You shake your head at your own stupidity. You fold the pants and deposit them by the nightstand.
Are you done?
Quite.
You're grinning when you reply. Lion makes their way over to the other side of the bed, occasionally stealing glances at you, and it warms your heart to be reminded that you aren't alone in this, whatever this is, going on between you two. It feels nice to be wanted, even if it's not in the way you'd prefer. Even if they can't love you in return. You slip under the covers, the same time they do. You mutter a quick spell, and the lanterns flicker shut. Their back is turned towards you, careful to some distance between your bodies, so you turn your back as well. It's a small bed, barely enough space to keep you apart. You itch to reach over, but it's not your place. So you keep your hands to yourself, folded right over your torso like they had both held you ages ago. You suppose it's fitting that you'd spend far more intimate times with strangers, and yet your heart never ached at the memory. But the thought of that night alone could have you rolling stones for the rest of eternity. They never did ask you to come sleep with them again. Maybe you smelled? Lion was never fond of floral scents, but you can't help it if you naturally smelled like lavender. Which probably makes you sound like an overconfident twit, but you're not human, so you get a pass.
Are you not bothered by it?
By what?
I told you I loved him. I know you're not seeing each other anymore, but most people would have had a reaction to that. Especially considering I've known both of you for so long.
There's a shuffling behind you, and for a moment, it feels as if they could set you alight from their judgment alone.
I always knew.
What?
Your breath hitches.
It's in your eyes, Salvi. The way the two of you looked at each other. I admit, I was jealous at first, before I realized Dante had room in their heart for more than just one.
What do you mean?
They pull at your arm until you're forced to look at them. They raise their hand up and cup your cheek. Lion's eyes are alight with magic, and you know then that you are not alone in this moment. You ignore it, leaning into their hand and reveling in the way they run their thumb across your cheek. If Dante sees, then it's their own fault, not yours. Rituals are a two-way street, and it's no business of yours if they're stupid enough to cross.
Do you really think yourself so unlovable?
You scoff. They never loved me. As a pet, maybe, but they look at you, the disappointment clear in their eyes, and you know you've said the wrong thing. You can't bring yourself to care. The light in their eyes sputters out, and it's enough for you to know that you're alone once more. Dante left. Good riddance. They pull their hand away, instead placing it over your heart. They don't say anything about what you've just done, and it makes you feel far worse than if they did.
We both know they're an idiot, love.
And isn't that unfair? Calling you that, knowing full well you can't help but listen.
But they're our idiot. For better or worse. We know they're not good with emotions, but they love you. Have loved you for longer than you'll ever know. And I can't believe they're so much of an idiot to let their self-sacrificing nature get in the way of you both.
You place your hand over theirs and squeeze. They curl their fingers in before intertwining them with yours.
But the question is, do you love them still?
Oh, this is a tricky one. Yes, no, I don't know. I guess I don't know.
I don't know.
You admit.
I can already feel myself forgiving them, but
It's okay, Salvi.
They nod in understanding. They shift, tucking their head underneath your chin.
Take your time. It took me ages after I left to stop blaming them. Blaming you both for how the council treated me.
we deserve your anger.
You confess.
We could have done something, anything to let you stay, but
What's done is done, love. We've all suffered far too much.
There's a pained expression on their face as they shake their head.
We can't change what people think. At least, not that quickly. We can only hope that the future is kinder to those of our ilk. After all, you gave up your life for a reason. Don't. We both damn well know giving up your magic was a death sentence. You're not human, Salvi. You're made of the powers that we can only hope to harness. No matter what our living saint has done, I'm thankful for this one blessing. I don't know what I'd do if you were gone because of that accursed council. Perhaps I'd finally be the monster they always hoped I'd be.
I have my magic back, you know.
Your mouth goes dry, and from a lack of answer, you instead reply.
I know. And I also know that you'll be a force to be reckoned with once you return to it.
A comfortable silence settles over the both of you, broken only by the sound of their breathing. They chuckle.
It's funny. When you came in here, I expected you to still breathe in time with Dante. And then I expected you to not breathe at all. And yet
I breathe in time with the deep woods,
You finish for them.
as I once did, as I should always have. No binding contracts, no ritual suppressions. I do not belong to anyone but the ground beneath my feet. I go where the world takes me, withered down by the eastern winds, and I will lay down my roots when I am dead.
And yet the ground is pulled asunder from where you once lay. You cannot stop yourself from laying claim to the world around you. It is your right, much more than it is ours.
I do not lay claim.
You smile.
I am the world as much as my siblings and my elders. As much as the siren song that lights your skin with its final sickening wail. You can take from me as you wish. It is my nature to provide.
They purse their lips and laugh into your chest. It's muffled, barely even there, but it vibrates its way straight to your heart.
Will that be in your next book? An autobiography, perhaps? Years of heartbreak with an undercurrent of the failings of humanity.
You snort.
You haven't failed me yet, have you?
I failed both of you far more than you deserve.
Their smile weakens, curdling like soured milk.
And yet,
You mutter.
you still return in the end.
You both fall into silence, your words weighing heavy in the air. A question nags at the back of your mind, begging to be answered.
Do you love them still?
You expect them to mull it over, to weigh the consequences of Dante's actions on a far heavier scale. After all, it has been 3 months since everything. But their answer is immediate, and you're floored by the conviction in it.
I do. And I suppose I'm lucky, considering I left of my own volition. But I still love them, faults and all. And I don't think I'll ever stop. They make mistakes, so many of them. But
You nod slowly, settling further into the pillows.
they still return,
They murmur,
in the end.
echoing you in kind.
In the end.
Go to sleep, Salvi. Tomorrow. Dawn.
Tomorrow. Dawn.
The fire dances behind both of you, warming your frigid bodies in the cold night. All around you, it is quiet, broken only by the crackle of fire and gusts of wind. Occasionally, there's a screech in the distance that gets louder and louder, until it catches sight of you three and turns tail. It was amusing, and all too convenient, if you're honest. Still, you don't care enough to ruminate on it further. At the very least, you don't have to tire yourself out on them.
I love him.
You turn to Dante. The confession hangs in the air, stealing their every breath. You say nothing, lest the stray word snuffs out the rest of their courage. Even here, with the abyss looming over all of you, you would choose to stay by their side.
I have for a while. But I didn't know how to tell you. How to make sure you didn't feel as if you were some consolation prize. That I loved you as much as I love him. But then came the matters of court and the army and...
I know.
They look at you, their expression pained. There are bags underneath their eyes, far worse than you'd ever seen them. You would soothe them away and sing them to sleep. Were you not trying to conserve your magic for possibly your worst decision yet? You look past them in the vast and endless sea, where the sky meets the horizon in an all-consuming, starless black, where the serpent is set to awaken and rise from the depths to plunge the world into darkness. Behind you, Salvi is sound asleep.
I'm sorry.
You take their hand in yours, pressing tender kisses along their knuckles. They are calloused and worn from years on the road, but you love them all the same.
Don't be.
You murmur.
I love him too.
I know.
They breathe in, drawing your hand to their lips.
I see it in your eyes.
You press your hand against their cheek, savoring your last moment together, before what may very well be the end of all things.
If I don't survive, tell him for me.
You smile and raise your brow wordlessly, brushing your knuckles against their cheek. If they confess to Salvi, then it should be on their own terms. Dante shakes their head, the smile ghosting the edge of his lips.
Yeah. Yeah, I should.
You cannot use magic to ease away their troubles, but you can do what you can with all that you have.
Let's go to sleep, love. Tomorrow is the last dawn of the old age.
They throw one last glance at the abyss, at the decomposing corpse of a goddess, as it consumes the sky in its inky depths. The weight of the world presses down on their shoulders.
Tomorrow. Dawn.
You wake to rumpled sheets and an empty bed. The space beside you is warm, the only sign that you aren't delusional, that what happened last night was real. You rise and rub the sleep from your eyes. The bed is still warm, so he shouldn't be too far gone. Probably just went to take a piss or something. Always had a poor bladder, that one. You comb your fingers through your hair to untangle it and replace your tie with a ribbon. With that out of the way, you lay your hand down beside you, only to be met with a note. You raise it to your eyes and begin to read.
Dante is sentenced to death in 10 days' time.
It says, and your heart sinks in your chest.
They plan to kill them, to keep the legend alive and burn the soul underneath it. The council has been planning this for months. I should have known, yet I was too blind from the grief of you to see the noose tightening around our necks. You know I can't let this happen. I hope you can forgive me. Just this once. Thank you for everything, darling. Run. Find your name. Live a life far away from this. You deserve bounds more than the paltry hopes we feed on. If I don't come back, know that I have failed. On the nightstand is my ring. Keep it safe. I love you.
You clutch onto the note and spring forward to your living room. That idiot, that blithering self-sacrificing fool! All this talk of Dante's feelings, and he cannot stop himself from doing the same. You suppose it should come as no surprise that you're all self-sacrificing nitwits. No sane person would march headfirst into the abyss as you all once had, and yet look where your bravery has led you now! You get to the living room just as he's about to leave through the back door. And with a harsh pull, you drag him right back in. He falls down with you on top of him.
You
huff,
You fucking imbecile!
adrenaline still coursing through your veins. All color has drained from his face, as if he wasn't already deathly pale to begin with. There are tears streaming down your eyes, and you do not care enough to stop them. If he feels guilty over it, then it's its own damn fault. You kneel by his side and grab at his collar. The bastard had somehow gotten his clothes back while you were asleep, but you're much too incensed to laugh at his strange spikes of competence.
Did you not even once?
You cry out.
Did you not even once consider that I would want to come with you? That I would want to save one of my best friends?
He stares at you, mouth agape.
You self-sacrificing lot only think of yourselves. I love you, you blithering fool.
Your hands fall from his collar onto his chest. You lean forward, your forehead bumping into his.
I can't lose you again.
He's quiet underneath you, heart beating fast against your palms, beating in time with you. You don't know how much time has elapsed when he lifts his hand up to your face, thumb caressing your cheek. He leans in, eyes slitted.
Can I kiss you?
Yes.
You sigh against his lip, the fight giving out from you. He presses his lips against yours, and it's exactly as you imagined it all those years ago. His lips are soft and cloyingly sweet. His skin smells of lavender and morning rain. His hand is in your hair, pulling you closer and closer into him. You are home. When you finally come up for air, you collapse into him, arms tangled behind his neck.
You already laid down your roots, love. Can't take you from here.
He murmurs, but you know he's already made up his mind despite himself.
My roots.
You scoff.
My roots are with both of you. I thought that would have been obvious by now.
He chuckles, so light and warm that you could mistake him for the sun itself.
You have buried yours within me, 6 feet deep, and I shall carry them to my grave. I will guard them until nature runs its course. Until all traces of me are no more.
He's breathless, eyes lit with want.
I'm sorry for taking so long.
He mutters against your hair, trailing soft kisses along your neck. Cheeky bastard.
You're forgiven.
You answer.
For this, that is. But not for everything else. You have much apologizing to do.
You push him back before he starts going too far. Salvi laughs, and it is bright and breathy and beautiful.
Let's get our idiot back.
You smile at him, at the hope in his eyes.
Yes, I suppose we should.
He grins. You'll never get tired of the sight of it, you think. The moon, that is. It's been almost a year since she returned, since you pulled what remained of her from the belly of the beast, and it still takes your breath away to see her in the sky, shining in the glow of her brother's love. What did it look like, the moon? Lion had asked, once, their gaze cast off to the darkness above. She was beautiful, Salvi replied. I wish you'd been alive to see her. And now you are. You know that she is there, guarding over you in the darkness, lighting your every step. If you had the chance to go back, you'd do it all over again. There's no time left for regrets. What the hell was that? Come on out, dog! Someone shouts from the outside. Even from here, you can smell it. The oil on their swords, the gunpowder waiting to be ignited. But above all else, you smell fear. They are more afraid of you than you are of them. They always will be. It is time to kneel! You look down at the mask, clutched between your hands. You cannot regret. You put it on, the familiar comfort of Lion's magic washing over you. The pommel of a blade slams hard against your door. You cannot regret, for you had loved and were loved in return.
Wait outside. I'm coming.
And that is enough. Anyway, that was What Remains of Us. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys do want to play this for yourselves, link to the game will be in the description below. I think this is actually one of the first few visual novels I played with a polyamorous dynamic. I did enjoy the story. However, like, one thing I did notice is that it seems that the visual novel isn't mixed properly. Like, sometimes the music goes really loud, really soft. Even like some of the voice acting goes loud and soft, which it tends to happen for a project as big as this, and especially with a small team. Like, sometimes you'll run into the sort of problem every now and then. But hopefully they'll actually drop a patch which will actually like address this. But in the meantime, thank you all so much for watching. Hope you all have a lovely rest of the day. And as always, I'll be seeing you in the next video. This is Lion, signing off. Ciao.